Hi, I'm Bob Samble, and I'm here at Town Hearth, which is one of OpenTable's iconic DFW restaurants. And I guess this one has a little bit of a different touch for me because Nick Badovinus, the creator and the do everything guy here, I've known him for a very long time. And it's ironic that Town Hearth got picked because you could have picked Neighborhood Services, his first restaurant also. But this is a kind of a special interview for me other than the other ones because I've known Nick so long and I've watched him grow up in the business and I've grown to admire him. And Nick's one of those rare guys that not only knows how to run a restaurant, but he also knows how to design a restaurant. So once he's done with running restaurants, I'm going to hire him to design my restaurants because he's much better at it than I am. Well, Nick, thanks for doing this. I know you're busy.
Bob, are you kidding?
Yeah.
What an opportunity. Anytime there's an opportunity to sit down and rap with you for any period of time, you know I'm going to take it.
Yeah, we've had some long heart-to-heart talks about the restaurant business in our day. And,
we have.
And so with the people that aren't familiar with your history, give us a little history about why young Nick became in the restaurant, what came to the restaurant business, and how you all got started.
Sure. Look, I think I didn't grow up in the business. Didn't have family in the business. Did have a really good friend in high school whose father was a chef. So by kind of discovering through a self-discovery process that I think most young people go through, I knew I wanted to entertain, and I had grown up with some great family members that cooked. So while it wasn't professional, certainly understood and appreciated and fell in love with the role that food plays in the family. You know, grew up in the Pacific Northwest, chasing pheasants around in the fall and then salmon and Dungeness around in the summertime. And just got to a point where I knew I wanted to cook. And had this idea of opening my own place someday and kind of thought about what that looked like and went to culinary school in Portland, Oregon, and had to complete an internship and wound up through some connections meeting with Dean Faring at the mansion on Turtle Creek. So this is spring of '96. And showed up for an unpaid internship at the back dock of the mansion on Turtle Creek on April 15th, 1996. And through opportunities that I certainly did not earn through my prowess, wound up sticking on there at the mansion, and that's really what brought me to Dallas.
We didn't know each other then, but then I knew, got friendly with you and got to meet you when you went to work with Tristan Simon.
Yep.
So tell me how you ended up there.
Well, I left the mansion with the idea of, if I really wanted to do my own restaurant, I needed to understand four-wall, freestanding, independent restaurant work, that wasn't supported by private dining, wasn't supported by a hotel, but really was a freestanding, independent deal. And so when I left the mansion, I went to work for Phil Romano, and we opened Nick and Sam's.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
And it's amazing how Phil has touched all of our lives.
He really has.
One way or another.
And I became aware of your place actually by working with the line cook at the mansion on Turtle Creek, who was a grillman for you, and also had a side hustle a few days at the mansion on Turtle Creek. And that's how I first kind of became aware of Bob's. I had opened another restaurant with Phil right after Nick and Sam's, and that was Wee Wee. It was an incredible wild ride, and we opened and closed in 9 months. That was my first executive chef opportunity. And during the wind down of that, I had gotten to know Tristan Simon a little bit, and our relationship took off. We're still great friends to this day. And he wanted me to come and kind of be the culinary voice and help him flesh out this fantastic vision of the revitalization of Henderson Avenue. And through, many conversations, we decided to do it. And that's how I got to Conciliate Restaurants, and then became a little bit more intimately involved in getting to know you as a great friend and a mentor and someone who I just couldn't respect more.
Well, I remember the day you called me up and said, "Hey, I want to come in with my dad, and I want to talk to you, have dinner and talk to you because I'm getting ready to open my own restaurant."
I remember it well.
Tell me what made you open that restaurant with that menu in that location?
Well, it was what I could afford, to be honest with you. We in terms of the site selection, we'd looked at a bunch of different places, and because it had a real limited, but didn't want to have to go out and raise money necessarily, and knew I wanted it to be a very sincere and authentic voice, kind of what I believe restaurants should be. And as you'll recall, we had a long afternoon talk before opening up that place, and you gave me some really good advice during that about how to kind of structure and keep it small, and which I took to heart. And the Space on Lovers it was a second generation restaurant. I think it was an El Phoenix back in the 40s. So, and then it was China Star, who Harry Joe, or Mr. Joe had for years. He wound up buying the building. So it had this kind of owner-operated soul about the space, and it sat there for 9-10 months, I think, before we saw it, and knew that this was something I could make happen and stay within the realm of affordability, and we were able to do that. It just turned 16 last week.
And then you decide to open Town Hearth in an area of town that wasn't necessarily the most popular place to open a restaurant. But I think you opened it in a way that kind of, as a competitor and a friend, went, wow, that is, just when you walk in and the chandeliers and the fish tank and the motorcycle, and I was one of the people, I don't know if you remember, that you asked to come taste all the food when you first opened. I still have pictures of it on my phone of all the food we ate that night. You bet, yeah. And it was all spectacular, but it was done in a way. So I think I know the answer to this, but maybe you should say it. When you looked at all the steakhouses in town, because Dallas had a bunch of them,
sure,
all doing well,
absolutely,
all doing well, and then you said, I'm going to open one. So what's Nick going to do to make it special? Tell me how you got the vision for the chandeliers, the fish tank, the motorcycle, and the way you do your food, which is kind of one step up from everybody else. Yeah, well,
thanks. In terms of doing Town Hearth, it was always something that I wanted to do in terms of the positioning of the restaurant. Thought, again, I had something sincere and authentic to say in the crowded space that is kind of hoof-based protein, center of the plate style positioning here in Dallas, Texas, but really wanted to wrap it around the methodology of cooking over wood. So thought if we could do that well, we would have, a point of difference in terms of how we prepare the majority of, our dishes here, that was very rustic and primal and primitive. Mm-hmm. And I'd always appreciate that, the honesty of a great piece of meat, salt and pepper, and a fire. Human beings have been doing that for a while, right?
31 years doing it.
Yeah. And I thought that something that primal, the juxtaposition of doing that with something outlandishly fantastic, i.e. the chandeliers. I really appreciated those two things in a complementary way. And, we just kind of took the rest of the business from there, or the rest of the restaurant from there in terms of how it wanted to look. I wanted to celebrate a past, wanted to celebrate a daring, the design district, and this was all a manufacturing area at one point in time. And, parts for World War II airplanes were built here, and Jeff Nash, who's got AMS Ducati, is a great pal right down the street. And so I wanted there to be some things in the restaurant that talked about what the design district's history, and really get back to kind of its manufacturing area and the importance of those spirits, and really a celebration of the daring. I mean, there's nothing more daring than pulling yourself into a B-52 and going on a mission, right? There's nothing more daring than, throwing a leg over a piece of machinery, i.e. a motorcycle that's built for one reason, and that's to go real fast, and it's going to try to throw you off the whole time. And I saw some of those parallels in terms of going and doing something big and ambitious, requires a little bit of guts. And, you know, we paid for all of our restaurants on retained earnings. So, you know, again, we've stayed true to your advice and, but felt that I really wanted to celebrate those kinds of things, ambition and daring and thought what we wanted to do with the food, culinarily speaking, kind of matched with that. And wanted to build a room that kind of heightened that and created some wonderful contrast for people.
Yeah. Well, you did. And I remember when you first opened, and I got a sneak peek at everything, and I was telling a bunch of our competitors about it. Yeah, okay, we'll see how he does. We'll see how he does. And then you not only executed the design and the philosophy and what you wanted to do, but you'd ended up putting the food on the table, and the place has had rave reviews since it's been open. You certainly deserve to be an iconic restaurant, and I think if there's a list of iconic restaurateurs in town, I think that you got the old guys like me and Phil, and then you have the young guys like you that
I appreciate the young reference.
Yeah, that have taken it to the next level, and that's what happens. And I think that's one of the things that our foreign invaders from other cities don't realize about us Dallas guys.
Sure,
we know our market, we know how to attack it, and we're going to be relentless on attacking it. And so one thing that's very common about all these interviews I'm doing is everybody I've interviewed, and I'm going to interview, comes in every day and tries to make their restaurant better. And when I sit down with you, and I sit down with Samir, and I sit down with people like that, you just get that same sense. But Town Hearth has been open how many years now?
We'll be 8 here coming up.
8 years.
So yeah, end of January.
8 years.
Yeah.
And it hasn't slowed down.
Yeah.
It's doing well. And so you have done a bunch of other things. And now that you're a little older, how old are you now?
53.
53. Wow, you're
hard to believe.
Okay, well, you're the next group. Okay,
yeah,
you're on deck.
Yeah,
You're on deck.
That's right.
You're on deck to be an old guy.
Teed up.
You're teed it up. Yeah. When you look at what Town Hearth done, you've never done another Town Hearth.
Yeah.
Which I think makes Town Hearth even more special.
Sure.
That there's only one. Well, I'm going to say two things to end this interview, and I appreciate you doing this. In the past year or two, I've had a group from New York and I had a group from Las Vegas restaurateurs come in to say they were thinking about expanding into Dallas.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to give you a little advice. I want you to go to one restaurant and tell me after you go there, if you could beat that, then you come to Dallas, and I send them here.
Oh, man,
I really do. I said, you go to Town Hearth and you go in there and eat dinner and experience it. And if you come out of there saying you can beat that, then maybe you should put your money here. But both of them haven't come yet. So maybe they're my advice. The other thing is that we've known each other a long time. You were always so nice to me and my family, and I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm so proud of your success. I gotten to know your dad, and I know he backed you, and you're just a great success story. And if anybody deserves to be in the iconic restaurant and iconic restaurateur conversation, it's you. You've made the Dallas restaurant community better. Your people are trained well. But thank you, pal. And
that's a wonderful
many
compliment.
more years of success. And Town Hearth is going to be here a long time, Bob. In the past year or two, I've had a group from New York and I had a group from Las Vegas restaurateurs come in to say they were thinking about expanding into Dallas.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to give you a little advice. I want you to go to one restaurant and tell me after you go there, if you could beat that, then you come to Dallas, and I send them here.
Oh, man,
I really do. I said, you go to Town Hearth and you go in there and eat dinner and experience it. And if you come out of there saying you can beat that, then maybe you should put your money here. But both of them haven't come yet. So maybe they're my advice. The other thing is that we've known each other a long time. You were always so nice to me and my family, and I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm so proud of your success. I gotten to know your dad, and I know he backed you, and you're just a great success story. And if anybody deserves to be in the iconic restaurant and iconic restaurateur conversation, it's you. You've made the Dallas restaurant community better. Your people are trained well.